to the rector to dream. Good morning, founders. What a wonderful time to be alive in this universe. It's the harvest time. I'm beginning to feel it. The leaves are falling. And we're beginning to see a little rain. And somehow we think of the times when we have already worked during the summer and now we're reaping what we have sown from the spring, and it's soon will be time for winter. What a life, what a wonderful life. My subject this morning is the attention that creates. My theme for the month is your divine expectations. Your divine expectations. And I was just thinking how wonderful Cheryl was up here. I know she thought she was messing up. She wasn't messing up at all. Thank you, Cheryl. You were terrific. Thank you so much. Let me get into my subject here, because I noticed that we have two wonderful readings that you have there. And he has filled him with the Spirit of God in wisdom, in understanding, and in knowledge, and in all manner of workmanship. And the writer of the Bible there is talking about you and me, what we come here with, the Spirit of God, and all these wonderful things, wisdom, understanding, knowledge, and the capacity for work. Work to be who we are, what we are, to do what we do. And the second reading had to do with the attention. The will holds attention to the mental viewpoint until the creative power has time to work through the law of unfoldment. In some measure, we will be touching up on some of these as we go along. I want to share a number of things with you this morning. I will share with you a tale of two types of attention. The creative principle of possibility attention, the principle or law of unfoldment, and how possibility attention uses the law of unfoldment. It was Charles Dickens who wrote A Tale of Two Cities. And so today I think it's appropriate that some 100 or so years after he wrote that, I should come up with a title, A Tale of Two Attentions. And what I want to bring to your attention is that there is factual attention, like a snapshot of what is happening in life. And this is the way it is. And there is possibility attention. I'm going to flesh them out a little for you. When we talk about factual attention, if you imagine that there is a switch to attention, and one switch is on factual attention, we're dealing with limits and boundaries. We say this is how life is. It's a fact that this is how things are for us. When we do that, limitation in this case means what you see is what you get. What you see is what you get. There's a feeling of freezing something in time. Many of you can remember some hurt that you have experienced with somebody. And you have frozen it in time. It's a snapshot. And every time you think about it, that picture, that vision, that feeling comes all back to you, and you're angry all over again perhaps, unless you have resolved it. And so there is some danger with the snapshot approach, even though it's very useful. And so what we need to understand is that there's the same switch when it's in its alternative position. I call it the possibility attention. And possibility attention is fluid. It's not frozen. Possibility attention is creativity. When you look at something, you see possibilities. You're not just seeing what is happening in the moment, you're seeing possibilities. Cecile and I were one of these sales, what do you call those sales, you see? Those estate sales. And you know, we sometimes go to them in our neighborhood, and mostly you're looking for something that, gee, this would be nice. And we found a couple of things and we went home. And later on Cecile said to me, you know, I was thinking about a couple of big items I saw here, which is something that didn't even enter my mind. And she explained why she was thinking about it. And when she did, all of a sudden the whole universe opened up for me. Things I didn't see because I had that fixed mindset. I had that actual attention, focus on what is it that I was looking for. Not a specific thing, but a kind of thing. You kind of know what you're looking for. But she went with possibility, attention. And so it was a 2-day sale, and the next day we went back, and surely enough, what was there, and it was a wonderful thing for us to have, and it makes us an improvement. And I'm saying to you that even in your life, all the situations that come before you, and some of them that feel like they're limiting you immensely, also have the switch that can be turned from the factual attention to possibility attention. And when you go to possibility attention, you begin to see what is happening before you, what the limitation is nothing but a stepping stone to your greater expression of what your life can be. It is a necessary stepping stone that is there, but if you don't see it as a stepping stone, if you see it as an obstacle, it's factually an obstacle, but the creativity doesn't work when you just say, this is an obstacle. You put a period to the sentence, and you say, amen. And so be it. And it is so. But when you come to a situation, and you see it with possibility attention, the universe opens up to you. And behold, I make all things new, is beginning to echo in the halls of your consciousness, and certainly in your attention. Because you're standing on the brink of a consciousness that is God in you, looking at infinite possibilities through your attention. It was George Bernard Shaw, who expressed this so wonderfully as only he can. Some men see things as they are and say, why? I dream of things that never were and say, why not? And it's that why not that is the possibility attention. He is somebody who is constantly seeing possibilities. And this is the challenge of life. That we go through our lives thinking about the limitations when we do not realize that limitations are nothing but stepping stones to your abundance. That is what science of mind is. If you're not living that way, then you're not living the science of mind. And the truth of the issue is all you have to do is flip the switch from how you characterize or characteristically look at challenging situations particularly and say, another possibility. Let me take a look at this. And once you have that attention open to God's possibilities, which is really what all possibilities are, but limited to your consciousness, suddenly, behold, I make all things new, which is the way the Bible said it. Jesus had warned that the kingdom of the Father is spread out upon the earth and men do not see it. Well, it is also true that possibilities are spread out all around you and you don't see it. Why is it some people thrive during the worst of times, while others don't? What is it that they're seeing in the worst of times? Why for them were the worst of times the best of times, to come back to a tale of two cities? Because of how they were looking at things. The kind of attention they were looking with. Because what we need to understand is your life is a manifestation of your attention. Your life is a manifestation of your meditation. And when I say it's a manifestation, I'm not asking you to victimize yourself because something isn't working right. I'm saying that you have a consciousness, a switch that you can flip from seeing things as if they're fixed and unchanging to one where you can see, oh, this is a stepping stone to my greater possibilities. And that is the difference with the creative attention. We can fill books up with names of people who lived in the consciousness of this attention, possibility attention. Jesus, Moses, Buddha, Plato, Leonardo da Vinci, Jules Verne, Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther King Jr., Steve Jobs, J.K. Rowling, and Ernest Holmes. These are just a few of endless examples. You can add yourself and your family to this list, because whenever you are thinking that I need to do some problem solving here on some particular issue, you are engaging in that kind of thinking, in that kind of attention. The difference between us and the great ones, there's an old saying I grew up with in high school. It says, a great man is in particular what we are in general. To put it in the modern parlance, I would say a great person is in particular what we are in general. We're generally available to using that kind of thinking, but we don't use it particularly well. We don't use it as well as we could. And so let me give you an example of someone who did. In thinking about the creative principle of possibility attention, we have already said that the world becomes whatever you give your attention to. The attention is creative. The ancients tell us, as thou seest, that thou givest. Hermes Trismegistus of ancient Egypt said, as within, so without. And Jesus in the Lord's Prayer said, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We say that every week. Possibility attention. That's what it is. Now, there was an older man who at 65 years old was broke. He was living on $99 a month Social Security checks. And he had an old broken down car. And he got to thinking, possibility, attention. He got to thinking that this wasn't the way my life should go. And I'm so much reminded of the widow with Elisha when she had nothing. And she came to the prophet. And he said, what do you have in the house? Because her sons were going to be sold in slavery for the debt that her deceased husband had incurred. And she said, nothing but a little vial of oil. Oil is a significantly invaluable thing. And he had her get jars and jugs and pour out the oil, and all of a sudden she was rich. But here's this man. It's all well and good for the Bible to tell you stories like that, because you know that you're not going to take a little vial and keep pouring it, and you're going to get rich from all the oil that's coming from it. But these are metaphorical stories, metaphysical stories, stories about the structure of the mind within you that can perform and create. That's what they are. They're not to be taken literally. They must be taken symbolically. And so here's a man, he's 65. He's poor, beat up car. He said, but what did I have? Just like the woman when Elisha says, what do you have in the house? What do I have about me that could make me rich or make me some money? And his friends always said how unique and wonderful this fried chicken was. And so he said, well, I'll do that. And so he went across the state talking to restaurateurs about selling his chicken. And he was going to give them the recipe for free. All they had to do is to give them a little percentage of whatever they sold. Well, after some 9,000 trials, he heard nothing but no's. About 9,009, he got one yes. And Colonel Saunders is now history. He's now, well, of course he has bad start, but, you know, the idea of Colonel Saunders started that way. What was the difference? Possibility attention opposed to factual attention. You can go through life taking a snapshot of life and say, but this is the way it is. And no one can deny that. It is true to the extent that it is what it is. But science of mind, thinkers, must do more than that. We must not only look at what is, but we must look at the possibility of what can be. And when we make that shift in consciousness, we will discover that power that Colonel Saunders discovered for himself. Remember I said great men, or a great man is in particular, what we are in general. What we need to do is to become more particular about this unique power that is part and parcel of who we are. We're giving it away by a word that denies it, that only believes in the limits, that only judges by what it sees, and cannot see beyond what seemed to appear before it. But the names I've already given you are all examples of people who throughout time thought about it. Some 500 years ago, Leonardo da Vinci was designing a flying object, a plane, a helicopter. It took about 500 years later before we could do that. Jules Verne was talking about flying to the moon and going beneath the sea. It took our century, in the 20th century, for many of these things to come true. But what I'm saying to you is that possibility attention is yours. It's one of the great secrets of how it is that you can increase whatever it is you're about. And you can go from feeling nothing but limits to recognizing that all this time God was just putting stepping stones before you for you to be the best you could be. And because you didn't accept it, that was the problem. The principle of the law of unfoldment is what we want to talk about, where it concerns this kind of thinking. We think about the prodigal son. And when you think of that story of a man having two sons, the older and the younger, and the younger asking his father to give him his lot so that he could venture. You may not consider that both sons are very much alike in certain respects. And they're alike in the respect of factual thinking, not possibility thinking. The young son had a little inkling, but he was inattentive to what he should be attending to when he took his journey. And so he lost everything. God was tapping him on the shoulder and saying, hey, listen up. That's not the way to go. You can't just use your resources this way. But it wasn't until he got a 2x4 on his head when he was eating with the swine that he realized, wow, that was a big mistake. And when he went home to his father, some people will say, well, he went home to his father, as some children now, adult children, come back home to live with their parents. That's not what this is about. That's not what the story's pointing at. When he went back to his father, he said, I'm not worthy to be your son. Make me one of your hired servants. It is the insight of being a servant that brought him into the real arena of this new thinking. It's the conclusion that he's here not just to get, but to give, to serve, to be part of something bigger. The oldest son didn't get it. And when he came in and complained about this lousy younger brother of mine that comes back and you have this big dance for him, and I never got anything while I was here, he missed the point also. He missed the point that he was too fixed in his mind, too factual about what he saw, and didn't realize that being his father, he needed to grow up and grow out into a vision of new possibilities. He was still depending on his father to say, well done, my son. He should have been asserting himself and taking responsibility for who he was as a young man. So this principle of unfoldment is really also the law of evolution. Life has purpose. I know it's common for some people. I know Joseph Campbell said something like that, that life has no purpose, but what you give to it, life has purpose. If life didn't have purpose, we couldn't have purpose now. Because what we reflect as purpose in us ourselves must have been antecedent to our being here, must have been in the past, and part of what the potential of what we are is. We have purpose because there was purpose at the beginning. And we see it in the involvement of life into more complex systems. And yet, everything is working together for good, even as everything has a side that is awesome. Because we all end up eating everything, and sooner or later, we're part of that. But it's not anything to be saddened about. We must come to a place where we understand that there is a joy of living if we have the right mindset, if we have possibility attention, and we bring it to bear upon the issues of life. Then creativity becomes the hallmark of who we are. We must know what our talents and strengths are. Why? Because when we work through our talents and strengths, what we're doing is finding a way to be in the consciousness of joy all the time. No matter what is happening or not happening in the moment, we're in the consciousness of joy and goodness all the time. Because we are doing what is natural for us to do. And what is in accord, not only with the cosmos, but with the great mind of spirit that lives, moves, and has its being in each one of us. Every Sunday, Charles comes up here and plays his instrument down here. And I hear it from the back. And I think how wonderful it is to love something so much that it doesn't matter that you're not sweet 16 anymore, or sweet 20, sweet 35, or sweet 55. Shall I go on? No. What is wonderful is that you still have that possibility, attention of how to interact sweetly with the instrument, and not only do it for yourself, but you do it for the congregation that is here early to hear it. And I want you to know that is a gift. It's not just somebody filling time. It's an irreplaceable gift of possibility, attention, of how can I take what I have and fill the air and the atmosphere with God's radiance in some particular form that can end up transforming someone who is listening keenly and sensitively enough to what I'm doing. And it's not a competition. It's not getting two horns and saying, well, this one is better. No, it's not that. It's what each one can do. And you have that ability because you're using the law of unfoldment. You're going from where you are to where you wish to be. So let me wind up by talking a little bit now about how possibility attention uses the law of unfoldment. I have several of these. First, you must be clear that God is your source. You see that for the prodigal son story. Moving back to source. God is your source. Deuteronomy says, take heed to yourself, that your heart not be deceived, and you turn aside and serve other gods and worship them. What does that mean? Metaphysically. The other gods are the other interests that distract you from your path. Who are you? What are you serving? Why are you here? When you begin to find too much of a distraction from your path, you're serving other gods. And so the warning in Deuteronomy is to take heed. Deuteronomy also says, all these blessings will come on you and accompany you if you obey the Lord your God. We personalize God in a way where people will tell you, okay, here's the word and it's in the Bible and it says do this. That's not what I'm teaching. There is within you, as we teach in the science of mind, a mind that is filled with wisdom and power and love and creativity. And that's what you must take heed of. The business of learning how to turn within, to know right where you are, God is. And to bring that force and that wisdom and that blessing upon your situation that is turning to the source. That is what the younger son did. The second thing is to decide on who you are. That should be very hard for people who have been studying Ernest Holmes' writings. That we are the individualized expressions of the living spirit. That's what we are. That the kingdom of God is within us. That's who we are. That we are one with God. We're sons and daughters of the living God. That's what we are. And to meditate upon that, to give it your attention to the extent that you can begin to feel into it. Not just hear it. Jesus said it's important not to be just hearers of the word, but to be doers of the word. Doers mean that you have embodied the nature of what is within you, and you have learned how to express it. The third step is to decide on what your major talents are. Whatever your major talents are, find ways to express it every day. How do you know what your talents are? Look at what you enjoy doing. And find a way to involve that in whatever you do. Wherever you are, your talents are. Find a way to apply your talents to what you do. And if you do that, that love will be wings of an eagle, as Isaiah would say. And it will lift you up to a place where you didn't even know you had the strength to go. And it will open doors for you that were once closed to you. It is transforming your world if you will do that. Number 4 is decide on your purpose. What is my purpose? We talked extensively about that last week, so I'm not going to do that this week. But we're going from where we are to where we wish to be. And we're doing it before we run out of time. And all you have is your talent and your time. That's the only thing you have. Your talent and your time. And when you waste your time, you waste your life. And if you don't know what your purpose is, you're wasting your time. And if you're wasting your time, you're doing what? One of you know? If you're wasting your time, you're doing what? Wasting your life. You can't get it back. You can't go back and say, well, you know what? I wasted about 2/3 of yesterday. Let me see what I can do to go recapture that. It's not a bank account. It's use it or lose it. And you must use it as well as you can. The 5th step is give possibility attention to your daily activities. Possibility. So you come up to the limitation. I'm not saying the limitation is not a limitation. I'm saying it's not only that. I'm saying it's a stepping stone. And that's the switch you need to put on. Possibility, attention will let you see that this is not only appearing to be a limitation, but in its true form, it's merely a stepping stone to where I'm going. Can you imagine if you did that with issues that you still haven't resolved? That sooner or later you simply dissolve them into the nothingness because there's nothing to hold on to them once you decide that this is what I am about. Number 6 is give possibility attention to what still hurts. Does anyone still have any hurt from the past? No? You beautiful people. Nothing hurts. But in case when you walk out of here, this beautiful sanctuary of healing and love, when you walk outside, you begin to, oh my God, you know, I do remember this person that I called son of, and it was God, who I'm still hurting from. And why don't I look and learn what the lesson is in the experience, be grateful for it, let it go, take the teaching principle, and move forward. What if you did that? Can you imagine all these people who have been pulling your shoulders down, bending your back over time, giving us diseases we don't need to have because we're stressed out? Can you imagine if you were that free? Number 7 is work daily. I'm sure I will change that. Work daily like a man whose hair is on fire is seeking a pond. Sri Ramakrishna, the great Hindu sage, said, do not seek enlightenment unless you seek it like a man whose hair is on fire seeks a pond. I want you to get your hair on fire. I want you to understand that you should use possibility attention to a scandalous extreme. God bless you.